Your guys' energy is incredible. I feel like I was tired and then I heard somebody yell, Nordstrom Live! And now I'm awake. And so if I look crazy, it's because I'm energized. How's everybody doing? Day 2? Okay, so without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our panelists because we have such great people here today to talk about size inclusion in fashion, starting with Nicolette Mason, who is the co-founder of Premme, one of the real originals. Next is Tanya Taylor, a Canadian friend of mine, designer, who is also somebody at the forefront of size inclusion in fashion. We also have Patrick Herning, who, as you heard, just did an incredible show for his brand, 11 on Array. And the one and only Pamela Lopez from Nordstrom, who is your host for the day.
We started working on this initiative for size inclusivity about 3 years ago, and it started with the launch of the Good American brand. So you guys all know that the size range is 0 to 24. And we learned very quickly that the best-selling sizes were the 0s, the 16s, and the 18s. And our head of women's was just like, we have an opportunity to serve customers better if we just had more sizes in the brands that they love. From there, the team went to some of our best brands and just asked them to make more sizes.
You make that sound really easy.
It was super hard work,
Guys,
for sure.
Yeah, for the rest of us up here, I don't think it was an easy journey for anybody, right? And so how did each of you get to the spot where you were providing product to customers? Tanya for extending sizes, Nicolette moving into product, Patrick changing careers and launching a platform. What put you over the edge to take that step?
So much of the frustration was every time there's a new launch, larger women would say, I'm still excluded from this. I still can't participate. And I want to be able to participate and celebrate fashion and feel empowered and good about myself in the same way as my peers. When we launched Premme, it really came out of a need. We've been in the space for a long time. We're both plus-size women, and we felt like there were still not many brands speaking to the millennial, young, plus-size woman who wants to be on trend, wants cool clothes. And so we were like, fuck it, let's just do it ourselves.
Can we say fuck?
I love saying fuck, so you're probably going to hear me say that a lot.
I'm not going to say it.
For us, what was most important is providing the exact same option. So, you know, when we carry Tanya Taylor, we carry size 20s, but Nordstrom can carry the exact same size in a size 2. And look, plus is polarizing. There's a lot about this customer, but what I've ultimately learned at the end of the day is she's just a customer. She wants the same options as her straight size counterparts. She wants fashion. She wants quality. She wants value. And she just wants to have a seat at the table like everybody else. And so we can absolutely overthink it, but at the end of the day, she just wants what everybody else has.
For you guys, what was the hardest part of expanding sizes?
For us, it was the fit. We take fit so seriously, and it was a whole different process. So we fit on a size 4 when we do 0 through 12, and then we started fitting on a size 18 to do size 14 to 22. And it was finding a fit model because, surprisingly, there weren't a lot of fit models that were fitting for feminine, advanced contemporary brands. There was a lot that were doing swimwear or denim, and understanding that kind of nuances and the taste level there. And then having your tech team of 2 people focus on 2 different cut tickets and products and working with your factories to be able to produce almost 2 different things. And we always see it as the exact same style. We don't even change very much, but it's really owning those relationships with your factories and sharing with them what your growth strategy is for those sizes so that they really get behind it.
You know, we made several commitments to our customer. The first one being, while the industry is catching up, we will absolutely have price consistency. So if you're at Nordstrom, right, and you see an Adam Lippis dress for $1,000 in a size 2, you're going to see that same dress at 11 on Array in a size 20 at the same price. And then the second thing we do is for brands that are really struggling, that we are committed to and really believe in, that will be a leader in their category and other brands will follow, we actually pay for the production. So we've actually provided the consultancy that has allowed those brands to enter in the plus market and paid for that completely.
It really does feel like today, when you are behind a brand and you decide to do an initiative like this, there's a lot of good, but there's also a lot of bad. What is some of the feedback that you guys have heard that you intend to work on? And how do you deal with those comments after putting your heart and soul and your checks behind this work?
There are inherent challenges with designers extending their sizing. And when we set out to do what we were doing, 95% of our brands went from 0 to 10. What we asked them to do was to go from a 10 to a 20, so essentially doubling their size run. Our biggest challenge has been getting to that 24 mark, because that seems to be the magic number in terms of what the community expects at a minimum in terms of being a plus provider. And that's something that we're adamantly pursuing on a season-by-season basis.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it was really important for us to come out of the gate with an extended run of plus sizes. So if our core was always going to be on the plus size consumer, it wasn't enough for us to go from 14 to 24, which is kind of the standard in the plus size market. We really want to have a true extended size run. So we launched with a 12 to 30, which is a huge undertaking for a brand as small as ours. We've only been in business now a year and a half. And it was just really crucial to us.
What's the business opportunities? I think, coming from a finance background, there is just a really clear strategy. And I love to talk about that. Like 15% of our e-com inventory is extended sizing, but it accounts for almost 30% of our sales. So it's like, okay, that imbalance is that there's clearly an appetite, there's an excitement for it. And I think that sometimes really makes people realize that there needs to be more options as well.
Even though 68% of women in America are plus size, only 17% of the consumer spend in women's apparel accounts for plus size fashion. That is how underserved she is.
I wanted to talk about how you decided to merchandise the plus sizes.
Not only was it important to bring in more sizes, it was important to change the shopping experience and for us to reflect the community that we're serving, for us to really reflect the customer we're serving. So our visual team was amazing and worked really hard on bringing in multi-size mannequins, and we try really hard to group them together so it's a 2, an 8, a 12, and an 18. So friends can shop together. It's an equation that's really just about being thoughtful.
One of the disconnects for e-com especially is that for plus categories, a lot of e-com models tend to be smaller than the size run that they're selling. And that was something that we've heard, again, like from our community, from our customers, from our peers for so long. It's like, why am I looking at a size 14 garment on a model who's a size 8? I'm never going to know what that's going to look like on my body. And so we made a commitment to shoot all of our samples on a range of models. And it seems simple, but it is so empowering for someone to see themselves, especially when they're not used to seeing themselves reflected in media, is really transformative. And we just knew that had to be part of our communications and our marketing strategy out of the gate.
Okay, so what have each of you learned in this process about speaking to the customer that these guys can take back to apply to their work and their lives?
I think that we've really embraced having a super honest and open conversation with our community and asking questions about what styles they're missing, what they're looking for, what body parts they want to accentuate, and really start designing around that. And you kind of look at it as maybe some of these fashion shapes that we're all into with like big puff sleeves and like, short sheer dresses, they've never had access to in a size 18 or 20. So giving them confidence to try those pieces.
I want to end on a question that I always like to ask people, which is, how do you feel about where we are and where we're going? What still needs to be done?
Yeah, I think pushing the envelope harder on diversity and inclusion. I think that there needs to be more skin tones represented. There needs to be different abilities represented, more variation in gender expressions. We are so at the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this conversation around inclusivity and diversity. And I'm really excited that we're having a conversation about size, but there's just so many different places where there really needs to be true, authentic representation.
I think some of the most exciting conversations we've had too are when we have a conference call with an Adie Bryan or Chrissy Metz, and we're like, what do you want to feel like on the red carpet? And Adie Bryan's like, well, I want to feel like candy. And I'm like, okay, like we'll start with embroidery that feels like candy. We'll give you this like it's just, she wants to look like herself. Like she wants to feel amazing. And then same with Chrissy Metz. She's like, I want massive red sleeves with beads and off the shoulder. And it is so refreshing to hear that. And you come off a call like that and you're like, this is wicked. Like there's no difference in how you design for that size versus a size 4.
One of our models that is actually an investor and a huge brand supporter, Candace Affine's husband, said this about the show. He said, your show was 10 years in the making. And what he meant by that is the models on the runway, you, Nicolette, Gabby, Tess, people who were in the front row, they led the charge for the conversations that are taking place today. So why Tanya is able to enter the market, why a company like 11 Honore exists, really is a testament to women like Nicolette and Lauren fighting the good fight before it was a movement, before it was on trend. And at the end of the day, if you think of how many brands are in the retail ecosystem, how many retailers are out there, it's really just Nordstrom and 11 Honore that have made this commitment. So yes, absolutely, I think we're at the very beginning, because if you think of the overall brand landscape, there's so much more work that has to get done.
I mean, there's a long way to go, but I'm really excited that we have brands like Premme, like Tanya Taylor, 11 Honore, Nordstrom leading part of that conversation. I cannot wait for Henning to launch this fall. That's Lauren's brand. And we really just need the same options and diversity of brands and market offerings available for the size 12 customer as we do for 0 to 12. That's it.
I totally agree. And Trisha's vision is that the entire store is just going to be full size range, that it's just going to be the norm. And we're so at the beginning.